Hello and welcome into this week's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series preview show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Cup preview, we're looking ahead to today's GEICO 500 from Talladega. We're going to take a look at practice times, starting lineup. You're going to hear from your pole winner. We're going to make a prediction for today's winner, even though it's Talladega and you have no idea. And we're going to give you your schedule for the day for when the race is happening. All right, so let's get started with practice times. That's another thing that it's Talladega. It doesn't mean much, so we're not going to spend much time on this, but it is a normal part of the preview show, so we will quickly give you practice times. We're going to look at final practice here. Again, neither practice really means a lot. All but one car went out in this session, so we at least got every car on track for a few laps. The Roush Fenway cars top the board here, Newman and Stenhouse. Over 204 miles per hour for the entire top six. They all got in a very fast draft. Newman, Stenhouse, Truex, Tift, Kyle Busch, and Eric Jones. Yes, that is not a typo. Matt Tift was fourth fastest in this final practice session. It just goes to show that with the draft really is the great equalizer at Daytona and Talladega. Matt Tift has done good to be in the top 25 most weeks this season, and he's fourth in practice at Talladega. So that's not a knock on Matt Tift. That may be more of a knock on Front Row Motorsports than anything, but that just goes to show that with the draft, everybody is really on an equal playing field. Yes, there are some drivers that are better at Daytona and Talladega than others, but as a whole, it kind of equalizes everybody to an extent. Other surprises here in the top 10, Matt DiBenedetto, Paul Menard, both in the top 10 as well. But, I mean, Paul Menard's in a Ford. Fords have been extremely fast at Talladega in recent history, so really that's not much of a surprise. And one thing you will notice here, there is not a Chevy in the top 10. First Chevy on this practice sheet is Alex Bowman in 11th. So take of that what you will, but that is your practice times for the GEICO 500. So we are going to transition to qualifying. It was single car qualifying, as it has been at the super speedways. I believe the first race at Daytona, after they did group qualifying, and then they decided that wasn't a good idea on super speedways. So we've been back at single car qualifying at Daytona and Talladega ever since. And again, you've probably heard it by now, but the rumor is that we're going back to single car qualifying everywhere. One thing I will say is that if we are going back to single car qualifying everywhere, just get rid of the rounds. There's no need to run a second round with 12 cars in single car speeds, especially at a track like Talladega. I don't see a point in it. You're not going to change all that much from the first round to the second round. Yes, Almirola was fastest in the first round, and then Austin Dillon ends up beating him in the second round for the pole. But really, things aren't all that different. I think Xfinity qualifying is the biggest point you can make with this, where the entire top 12 from the first round stayed in the exact same order, except for two drivers in like 7th and 8th, I think it was, flip-flop positions. There is no need for that second round of qualifying if we're doing single car qualifying. So if we are going back to single car qualifying, please just do one round. There's no need to waste everybody's time with a second round. That being said, Austin Dillon is on the pole for the GEICO 500. Eric Almirola will be to his outside on the front row. Row number 2 will be Clint Bowyer, Brad Keselowski. Row 3, Daniel Hemrick, Ricky Stenhouse. 7th and 8th, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, the Penske teammates in row 4. And Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson put a couple more Chevys in the top 10 in row number 5. Also making the final round in row 6 were Chase Elliott and Michael McDowell, who always seems to find some speed on these plate tracks. He was also very fast in the Daytona 500. Ty Dillon, Kurt Busch, row 7 here, just barely missing out on the final round. And you will notice this is one thing you don't see at any other track where we have different rounds of qualifying. The 12th fastest time here from Michael McDowell, 50.251, and the 13th fastest time from Ty Dillon, 50.310. Those are even. The 13th place time is not faster than the 12th place time. Everywhere else we have gone, the bottom drivers from the final round have put up slower times in the final round than the guys 13th, 14th, 15th, however far down you want to go, that barely missed that last round from their times in the second round. If you know what I'm saying here, there's no need for that second round when literally there was no fall off in times in that second round where there usually is at other tracks when we run group qualifying and in rounds. Daniel Suarez here in the 16th position. Matt Tifft, we talked about him being 4th fastest in practice. He landed in the 18th position. Kevin Harvick back here in 19th. Martin Truex Jr. 20th. Jimmy Johnson will start from the 21st position with Kyle Busch to his outside in row 11. Denny Hamlin back here in 23rd. Ryan Newman will join him in row 12. Bubba Wallace will start back here outside of row 14 in 28th. Now you see Tyler Reddick here in row 15. That is not a one-off Richard Childress Racing start. He has been practicing and qualifying the 62 car for Brendan Gaughan. Gaughan had to go back to Vegas for some family stuff. I believe he's got a grandchild being born today. Might have already been born. Something to that nature. So he had to go back to Vegas for that. So Tyler Reddick has been sitting in that 62 car Friday and Saturday for practice and qualifying. Gaughan is expected to be back today for the race, though, but of course he will start from the rear, as that is technically a driver change. And then down here near the bottom of the list, Jeffrey Earnhardt in the 81 car we see here for Extreme Concepts Racing, their debut in the Cup Series. That is a Joe Gibbs Racing aligned Toyota, so a little bit surprising as to how little speed they had. You would expect they'd have a little more speed than that. I mean, the 95 and Matt DiBenedetto have not had as much speed as I think a lot of us thought they would, being a JGR aligned team, but maybe Furniture Row Racing was just the anomaly. Maybe a Joe Gibbs Racing aligned team isn't necessarily going to be a perennial championship contender. And of course, it is their first race, so you got to cut them a little bit of slack here. We'll see what that 81 car and Jeffrey Earnhardt can do today in the race and going forward in the other starts they make. I'm not sure where else they're going to run this year. I know this isn't the only race they plan on this year. They are planning on being full-time next year with Jeffrey Earnhardt, so I know they have other races planned. I'm not sure exactly where. And then Justin Haley making his Cup Series debut in the 77 car for Spire Motorsports this week. He'll start from the 38th position. And that is your starting lineup for the GEICO 500. So let's head over to the Media Center and we will see what your pole sitter Austin Dillon had to say about that lap.
Well, I mean, I'm a numbers kind of guy, and you correlate all those numbers together. You know, it's 50th anniversary for RCR, 50th for Talladega. Talladega is where RCR kind of started in '69. So I'm pumped to be here in the 3 car, and Danny Stockman and the boys did a great job building a fast car. And you want to go out there and make some noise, and they did it. I give all the credit to them, those guys. And tomorrow it's up to us to keep that car up front and hopefully make a real iconic win for RCR and everyone here at Talladega.
All right, so it is time to predict a winner for today's race. And as I always say, it's like throwing darts at a dartboard. It's such a crapshoot trying to pick a winner for Daytona or Talladega. If you have a prediction for today's race, let us know down in the live chat. If you're watching this as a premiere, let us know down in the chat who you think is going to win today's race. If you're watching this a little later, let us know down in the comments who do you think is going to win today's GEICO 500. I'm going to go with the guy starting from the outside pole, that being Eric Almirola. He showed a lot of speed in qualifying. He won the last race at Talladega. He's proven to be very good on, I almost said plate tracks. Can't really call them plate tracks anymore since we're not technically using a restrictor plate anymore. But yeah, he's proven to be good at Daytona and Talladega. I think Eric Almirola takes it to victory lane today. He's got a lot of not only Stuart Haas friends up there with him, he's got Clint Boyer starting in third in the next row behind him, but he's also got Brad Keselowski starting directly behind him in fourth. He's got a lot of other fast Fords up there in the top 10. There's 3 in a row there, Ricky Stenhouse, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano from 6th to 8th. I think Eric Almirola takes the victory today. I think he's got enough help with him among his factory teammates at Ford, as well as an actual teammate in Clint Boyer. I think Eric Almirola gets the job done today and gets career win number 3. All right, so that is our prediction for today's race. Race coming up today, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. local for the track that is Central Time on Fox today for the GEICO 500, so be sure to tune in for that. It is going to be a wild one. Things have been pretty crazy this weekend. They've had to add even more to the rear spoiler than what they were initially planning on. They showed up with a 9-inch rear spoiler where they've been running 8 inches all season. Then they had to add even more to it at the track. So it's been very crazy. Cars have been extremely fast. They've been very hard to control. It's going to be a wild one. This is not going to be, I don't think, what we've seen out of typical Talladega races lately. Is it going to be good? I don't know. That still remains to be seen. But I think it's definitely going to be different than any Talladega race we've seen for the past few years. So I'm interested to see what exactly we are going to get out of this, because I always like different, and things can always be improved, especially the plate racing's been very hit or miss the past few years. So if we can improve that and make it better, I'm all for it. But I believe that'll do it for today's Cup Preview show. Cup Rewind coming up later today, sometime this evening after the race, so be sure to look out for that. We had an ARCA Rewind go up yesterday with a winner interview with Todd Gilliland, so go check that out if you haven't. It'll be linked down below in the description. Then the Xfinity Rewind went up probably late last night, early this morning, somewhere in there. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check that out for the Money Lion 300 from Talladega that happened yesterday. Pole position, as usual, coming up tomorrow evening, Monday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern, to recap you on not just the world of NASCAR from this past weekend, but everything that happened in the world of motorsports. I know we had F1 this weekend. IndyCar is off until the stuff from Indy starts up in May. I think NHRA was in action. I'm sure World of Outlaws was in action. There might have been one or two other things as well. So we've got some things to talk about on pole position this week, not just rehashing NASCAR stuff that we've talked about in Rewind shows. So looking forward to that, and hopefully you are too. If you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series preview show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.